What's up, my comic comrades? Easily one of the most requested episodes for the last year has been a history of Hellboy. But as we've been telling you guys, we've been waiting to do it around the release of his new live-action movie. Well, that time has officially arrived. We also want to thank our friends at Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. And make sure you stick around at the end for a great offer from them. But without further ado, I give you the history of Hellboy. Hellboy was created by comic great Mike Mignola, and his first appearance was in Dime Press issue 4 in 1993, which was an Italian book before making his first US appearance in San Diego Comic-Con Comics issue 2 of the same year. However, in both those books, he didn't have his iconic red look yet. The red Hellboy we know and love today would make his debut in Next Men issue 21 in 1993. So this was his first in-color appearance. So if you're a massive Hellboy fan, those are definitely 3 Grail issues that will put a big dent in your wallet. But now, let's take a look at his comic book origin. Hellboy's real name is Anung Un Rama. His mother was Sarah Hughes. You see, his mother was a witch that got her powers from her spouse Azael, who just so happened to be a demon and Duke of Hell. He's also Hellboy's biological father. When Sarah was on her deathbed in the year 1617, she attempted to repent for her sins at the church. She thought this was a good idea because, you know, she got it on with a demon and became pregnant with his child. Simple stuff, nothing crazy. Because of this, Azael was like, "Da hell?" Do you see? You see what I did there? But for real, he became pissed and took Sarah's corpse to hell and burned it so his son could be born. Once the half-demon child was born, Azael chopped his son's right arm off and then replaced it with Hellboy's famous right hand of doom. When his demon friends found out about this, he sent his son away and Azael was then imprisoned in ice. Long story short, his son would eventually be summoned to Earth in the year 1944 to be the being that brings forth the apocalypse. He was summoned by the Mad Monk off the coast of Scotland. The monk was hired by the Nazis to bring forth a weapon to help them change the tide of the war. So the Mad Monk performed the Nazi ritual Project Ragnarok, the purpose of which was to create a doomsday weapon that could end World War II with their victory. The monk performed it and bam, baby Hellboy appeared. However, the half-baby demon was rescued by the United States military and brought to a base in New Mexico, where he would be named Hellboy and raised by his adoptive father, Professor Bruttenholm, or just Professor Broom. Broom was the founder of a secret division called BPRD, which stands for Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. Like I just mentioned, he became Hellboy's adoptive father and raised him as his own son and helped him develop and control his powers. Hellboy grew fast and was incredibly inquisitive, loving anything mechanical. With BPRD being a secret organization, Professor Broom was asked by the president to keep Hellboy's existence a secret and not to worry because the US government would handle everything. But Hellboy still met a lot of people, like Einstein. He even threw a rock at Babe Ruth. Eventually, Hellboy would go on to become the world's greatest paranormal investigator. But now, how about some story arcs? Now, even though Hellboy physically matured quickly, he still very much has the mind of a teenager or young adult, but nonetheless becomes BPRD's #1 agent. But Hellboy doesn't work alone. His partners include Abe Sapien, a humanoid fishman, who is probably his most famous ally, as we all know him from the first 2 Hellboy movies. We also have Kate Corrigan, who's a professor of folklore at New York University, but also a liaison between BPRD agents that have powers and everybody else. Then there's Liz Sherman, who we also know from the movies, as Hellboy's love interest that has pyrokinetic abilities. You could even count the Lobster, a pulp hero from the 1930s, who's now one of the most powerful ghosts in the Hellboy universe. I know this is supposed to be story arcs, but I just wanted to talk about some of Hellboy's partners and allies before I started running down some actual stories. You didn't mind, right? I didn't think you would. With that said, during the Seed of Destruction story, Hellboy finds out that Professor Broom went missing during an expedition to the Arctic. But when he returns and Hellboy is saying he's happy to see him, a Lovecraftian frog monster jumps out and kills Professor Broom. What? You don't have killer Lovecraftian frog monsters where you live? That's weird. The search for who killed Broom takes Hellboy, Abe, and Liz to Cavendish Hall Mansion, which is a trap established by a Siberian mystic called Rasputin to lure Hellboy to embrace his own destiny as a doomsday weapon. But this doesn't go over well as Abe impales Rasputin with a harpoon. Liz's firestorm power then incinerates Rasputin's body. In the end, Hellboy would learn of his 300+ year conception. He also finds out that he has 2 half-human siblings, a nun and a priest, who were killed while trying to stop Hellboy's demon father from taking their mother Sarah. Then during the Wake the Devil story, Hellboy is like, I want to know what I'm all about. I want to go on a journey of self-discovery. This takes him to Romania, where he investigates the theft of an ancient box containing the corpse of Vladimir Gurescu. Who is that, you ask? It's a Napoleonic officer who was actually a freaking Nazi vampire before he was quote-unquote killed by the order of a scared Adolf Hitler. He would also find out it was Ilsa Hobstein who stole the ancient box. Ilsa is one of the surviving members of Project Ragnarok, which is what brought Hellboy to Earth in the first place. Hopstein also helped in the vampire Gorescu's resurrection. Going after Gorescu, Hellboy learns that he was reborn because of the goddess Hecate. So he fights said goddess, but she just swallows him, returning him to his own reality. At which point he's like, yeah, I denounce all the dark purposes I was born to perform. After this, Hellboy learns that Liz is dying after losing her powers. And in the story Hellboy Almost Colossus, her powers are returned with the help of Roger the Homunculus, and her life is saved. In the story Hellboy the Right Hand of Doom, we learn more about Hellboy's stone hand and him being a harbinger of the apocalypse. If that sounds cool, don't worry, I'll have plenty of reading recommendations for you at the end. Anyway, we also have Hellboy Conqueror Worm. This story focuses on the 1930s hero the Lobster, who I mentioned earlier, helping Hellboy and Roger the Homunculus. Though not alive, he's a very powerful ghost who guided Hellboy and Roger, as well as helped them defeat the Conqueror Worm, which could turn people into frog monsters with its otherworldly breath. Heck, in that case, I know a few people who are Conqueror Worms. Skipping some stuff here and there, we have Hellboy in Hell, where guess what? He ends up in hell. It's here he comes into contact with what's left of his demonic family and to terms with the destiny he's been shrugging off his entire life. It's actually the story that marks the return of creator Mike Mignola being the ongoing artist for the series. Hellboy has several more stories and series beyond what I mentioned, but this was just an overview of some of the highlights, so don't get your underwear in a bunch if I didn't mention your favorite story or moment. Anyway, how about some powers and abilities? Hellboy is a demon, so his powers are demonic in nature, even though he's not too fond of that, which is one of the reasons he shaves down his horns. Anyway, because of this, he has super strength, being able to throw opponents that weigh up to 500 pounds. He's also been seen throwing boulders at people. Another power he has is his incredible durability, and a healing factor that's comparable to that of Wolverine. An example of his invulnerability is he once ran straight at a MG42 machine gun, taking countless hits from bullets, but didn't slow down, and he just destroyed the gun when he got to it. The true limits of his strength and durability are unclear, but one thing's for sure, he won't go down easy. Along with aging much slower than humans, Hellboy is also able to comprehend ancient magical language. As for weapons, he has an array of mystical items to fight against evil. His two most notable ones would be his Good Samaritan, which is a massive large gun that is known for its immense strength and mystical background, and of course his Right Hand of Doom that can destroy almost anything. It could also bring and control other demons, effectively causing Armageddon, so there's that. The full extent of the Right Hand of Doom's powers is still unknown, which says a lot because we've seen it do a crap ton already. All in all, this demon is no joke. So let's get you started with some Hellboy reading recommendations. Check out Hellboy Seed of Destruction, Hellboy Wake the Devil, Hellboy Chained Coffin, Hellboy the Right Hand of Doom, Hellboy Conqueror Worm, and Hellboy in Hell. That should be enough to get you all started. First up for Wednesday, April 10th, we have Symbiote Spider-Man issue 1. Everyone knows that Spider-Man's infamous black suit became the wicked web-slinger Venom. But what happened before Peter Parker discovered the black suit's sinister secret? Now we have Red Hood and the Outlaw issue 33. Running a casino has turned out to be more dangerous than Jason Todd ever imagined, especially when he's the public face of the Iceberg Lounge. Here we have Web of Venom Cult of Carnage issue 1. A new terror has risen on the fringes of the Marvel Universe, stirring in the depths of space. But evil is also rising on Earth, claiming one victim at a time in the name of the killer called Carnage. And finally, we have the Batman Who Laughs issue 4. In this issue, Batman is on a desperate hunt through Gotham City, tracking down the dark version of himself known as the Grim Knight. Now, as we said at the open, today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. There has never been a better time for content creators, business owners, and others to share what they have with the world. And Squarespace has an incredible and effective all-in-one platform from which you could do just that with your very own website. Using one of Squarespace's powerful and award-winning templates, you could build a great-looking space as a central hub for your video content, your online store, or maybe even a comic book review blog. Whatever your interest, the potential is only limited to your imagination and creativity. Squarespace also offers 24/7 customer support that is second to none, which, believe me when I tell you, is priceless in so many ways. Go to squarespace.com/variant comics to get a free trial and receive 10% off your first purchase. You'll be very glad you did. And that's going to bring another episode of Variant to a close, but remember, the link for Squarespace is in the description below. Other than that, check out our social media like our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Instagram. Links for that is also in the description. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.